Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honourable members, for this opportunity to talk to you. I'd like to start off with something silly. If you look at page 53, section 20, the line is totally wrong. And it is very worrying to a member of the public when there is something in a bill that is so blatantly wrong. It actually says, the following long title is hereby substituted for the long title of the Principal Act. Preamble. I am quite sure that's wrong. I think this act, this bill, needs to be looked at very carefully. That's an easy one to spot. But I would suggest you send it back to the person who drafted it and said, just tell them to do their homework, please. More seriously, nowhere did I see reference to international agreements. And there are a great many which have a direct bearing on this bill. For example, the Convention on Migratory Species has a major impact on what we can do in our oceans without a conflict. I believe this bill needs to look at all these environmental agreements and make sure that it won't be in conflict, because our reputation as a people and as a country depends on us being responsible citizens of the world. And talking about conflicts, I am very concerned because historically we have seen major conflicts of interest within PRASA, that they are trying to promote mining and exploration, while at the same time trying to look at the environmental impacts which might stop it. And I believe it would be in the best interests of Parliament and of the country to separate those two portfolios and say that PRASA should no longer be responsible for doing environmental impact assessments. That conflict of interest has led to a lot of challenges in the courts, and we need to avoid that. Indeed, I would even go further and say, perhaps if this bill is to make a really major step forward for our country, it should finally take away from the minister the responsibility for environmental authorization, because once again, there is a conflict of interest. And I would appeal to you to look at that very carefully. I would also have to question whether it is a good idea to set up another state-owned enterprise. When we look at the ones we've currently got, well, say no more. And I thought we already had a petroleum stockpile, and presumably then somebody is managing it. Do we need another organization? Or would it be better to take that one and maybe empower it and enable it to do the job, rather than creating yet another body, which can only slow things down and make life more expensive? Finally, I would like to ask you to consider very carefully the issue of climate change. We have international agreements. We have an incredible amount of scientific opinion which says that climate change is already killing people, and greenhouse gases are a significant contributor to that change. In fact, I would go so far as to say there is a principle in this country that the polluter pays, which means if you are going to allow oil industry to produce more and more fossil fuels, you also need to write into this bill some mechanism for compensating the victims. And I did a quick sum in my head, and at the rate people have died so far with climate change, we could be looking at a bill in excess of R1 trillion a year. That's not manageable. And certainly it shouldn't come from Parliament and the taxpayer. So I would ask you to look at that very carefully and even look at the possibility that this Act needs to be looked at in the context of, are we allowed to pass legislation which might lead to the death of our citizens? That's a serious allegation, I know, and I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. But we need to start thinking very carefully about how climate change is going to affect our population and whether the oil industry is contributing to it. And I ask you to look at that very, very carefully. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Before you sit down, before you sit down, tell us what you view. Do you support the bill or do you reject the bill? I'm coming to Usis.
Uyawusekela noma uyawuchitha umthethosivivinywa na?
A simple answer is I would not support it in its current form, although I believe there is a need for the legislation. And I think I forgot to tell you that my name is Paddy Norman and I represent the Wildlife Society of South Africa.
Okay, this one. Just to confirm whether he supports the bill or not, that's all.
Ufakazela ukuthi uyawuchitha noma uyawuvuma umthethosivivinywa usho negama nesibongo.
Okay, mna Thobeka Mkhize ndiyawuvuma umthetho.
Thobeka Mkhize, I support the bill.
Ngicela ukubuza one thing, abanye abantu abangekhoyo apha bangakhange bakwazi uzo. Okay, thank you.
Mangibingelele sihlalo komiti babo Luzipo nabahlonishwa bonke lapho ngaphambili.
Start by greeting my honorable guest, seated at the front, specifically the chairperson.
Igama uDr. wakanjogo.
My name
Hayi ngokweziqu yiligama nje.
My name is Dr. Ndiogo, not by profession, but it's a simple name.
Mangiqale nje la ngokubonga ukuthi njengabahlali basogwini ukuthola leli thuba elingqayizivele ukuthi ikomiti leParliament lifike kuthina nathi sikwazi ukuthi sibe novo sibe kuvo lwethu kumthethosisekelo.
I'll start by thanking the opportunity afforded to us as citizens residing near the coast, that you are afforded an opportunity to have a say in this particular bill proposed by the Portfolio Committee.
Ngineqiniso ukuthi lo mthethosisekelo ohlongozwayo uyoba umthelela omude kabi noma sesingasekho thina kodwa uyokwazi ukuthi ube nemthelela kwabazayo emveni kwethu. Ingakho ngicabanga ukuthi kubalekile ukuthi esizokuveza lana kufanele ukuthi sikubheke ukuthi nasibhekile into yamanje ukuthi sibheke into kusukela manje kuya nasesikhathini esizayo.
It is my belief that this bill will have far-reaching consequences in the near future. It even has potential of affecting those who are going to become after we've done our part. So I wish to add on this meeting here today the following.
Sengiyanqwa kuwona umthethosisekelo sihlalo ngazi ngithatha isikhathi sakho. Kunale clause seke wathinta abanye ngaphambili kuyona engibukela ukuthi nithi uclause 31
If I will just go straight to the bill itself, Chairperson, there is a clause that you spoke about, that being clause number 3.1, I'd like to believe.
La kuhlongozwa khona ukuthi abebala elinsundu bazoba u10% bona ukubamba kwabeqhaza. Ngifisa nje ukuthi ngibeke iproposal engizothi mina ifirm izohluka kancane kwadadewethu oba unumber 1 ekhulumeni lana. Ngibuka ngoba seyivele ikhona eminye imithetho kuhulumeni ebhekelela ukuthi nabantu abamnyama okuyibona abaningi lana ezweni lethu eSouth Africa.
But that particular clause, Chairperson, I believe, it states the fact that black people are going to be given at least 10% a share to that particular bill. So I want to strengthen my conversation to say that as black people have been afforded an opportunity before as the majority, quite peculiar chances in terms of contribution to previous bills that have been made.
Ngifisa ukuthi ngibeke ngaphambili ukuthi ne hayi ongenana kube u30%. Ngikuthathela kuphi lo 30% ukuthi imhlali ngaphambili seyikhona eminye imithetho ebekiwe yo set aside ukubhekelela abantu abamnyama ngoba basele emuva masekuya ngasemnothweni. Nale bill nabi sizoqhamuka ukuthi ne sikhuluma ukuthi ne ubhekelela kwabantu abamnyama emnothweni kuba u10% kuphela. Ngibona ukuthi sangathi sobe sithatha igxathile emuva nokuthi siye phambili. Kanti abantu abamnyama ngibona abaningi lana.
My recommendation, Chairperson, will be that the 30% proposed as per what the black majority should receive is a bit a step back, Chairperson. I would like to at least propose that 30% would be an amount that will be adequate enough to be proposed, and that as black people who have been marginalized before, as we understand it, that to be, however, 10% will be taking us a step back as opposed to giving us what should be taking us forward.
Ngibonge okunyeke ngibonga nje ukuthi ne iParliament selihlalela kubona kufanelekile ukuthi ne lo mthetho kubhekelela kwepetroleum negas usuke uhlukaniswe nomthetho ngoba bewenza ukuthi kube nzima kakhulu nje ikakhulukazi kumuntu omnyama ukuthi afinyelele ekutheni kuzimbiwa abambe iqhaza. Ngicabanga ukuthi lokhu kuzosiza ngoba ipetroleum no gas izinto ezisithinta kakhulu sonke nathi esimpishole simpofu. Ngiyabonga kakhulu njengoba bese ngizichazile ngisuka kwi-Men's Forum yase Renkonyeni ngosihlalo wakhona. Ngiyabonga.
I will take the opportunity, Chairperson, to thank the Portfolio Committee for coming to us and then explaining to us that there's going to be a separation in terms of the petroleum and gas from the department where petroleum and gas was under minerals and resources. We think that because we think it's going to have a meaningful contribution towards our black people achieving what they should be achieving. As I've already mentioned before, my name, I'm coming from the Men's Forum in this community representing Men's Forum. Thank you.
Ngalo ngithi ngiyawusupport umthethosisekelo mozoba nezinguquko lezi siziphakamisayo.
I would also like to add that I do support the bill as I believe that it's going to have positive consequences in the future.
Okay, mfundisi. Mangibilise indlu yoweliso mthetho kaziwelonke.
I'll start by greeting the Portfolio Committee in front of us from National Parliament.
Honorable members nencedisana nabo ngiyabingelela indlu yonke, all protocol observed.
Bahlonishwa ke niphelele nino ke ngaphakathi ke endlini, all protocol observed with everyone included.
Igama ngu Ayanda isibongo ngwakavanda.
My name-
Ngiku-Youth Development Forum la kule wadi esibiyona.
My name is Ayanda. My surname, can you come again?
Vanda.
Vanda.
Asiqale sisho ukuthi siyawamkela umthetho owathi ukuzanywa ukushicilela. Mhlali ngaphambili ze ndikwazi ukuqala inkulumo yami o intetho yami mandiyiqalise ngokuthi asibheke lapha ekunyusweni kwephesenti ngoba silibona iphesenti lilincane kakhulu.
Let me start by saying, Chairperson, that I do accept or recommend that the bill move forward, but I'm going to also recommend that you start by looking at the percentage because I believe that the percentage is not enough.
Useshilo kwathiwa kuno set aside ababekeliwe abantu abamnyama ngakho besocela kunyuke kuyobekwa ku30%. Ngaleyo ndlela bazokwazi ke nendlu emnyama iparticipate ngendlela ekuyona.
we've already been informed that there is a 10% quota that has been set aside for the black majority. However, we believe that a 30% quota will be a meaningful contribution for black people to be able to participate in the economy as well.
Sibantu abasha nathi singacela ukuthi kulo 30% esuhlongozayo maybe ke lo 10% usungaba ke owabantu abasha directly nje bengamixwe nalutho.
My second proposal will be that I would propose that the 30% quota that you are asking from the portfolio committee before us be allocated to the black majority. However, the 10% quota, we will ask that it is only set aside specifically for the youth.
Sidlula ekuceleleni abantu abasha I see ilento ibill yethu ikhuluma ngokuthi abantu bazofandwa banikwe ama license banikwe futhi balekele babheke ukuthi are they making their books according to the right financial standard according to OGAP and all other related financial acts.
I've also noted, Chairperson, that the bill speaks to the licensing that is to be awarded specifically to the black majority previously marginalized. However, the youth themselves, Chairperson, I wish that they be allocated. Pardon me, Chairperson. I wish that the youth be allocated the 10% quota, and I also wish to emphasize on the issue of employment.
Ngibonge mhlali ngaphambili noma usuze edela. The finance management engikhuluma ngayo ngikhuluma ngokuthi abantu abendlu emnyama bona bazolungiselelwa kanjani ukuthi sengimile nguAyanda njengoba kunalo uthando akusina sonke esikwazi ukubhekelela indlela zokubalwa kwezimali in terms of accounting. Ngabe ke indlu emnyama izolungiselelwa kanjani ekwenzeni ukuthi kuloko uma behlomula ababe bekwazi ukwenza ukwabiwa kwezimali noma the accounting standards accordingly. Also siyobheka ukuthi uma kuyo explore kuleyo ndawo ngabe umphakathi waleyo ndawo uma umphakathi ontulayo ongazile ngabanzi ngaleyo nto ngabe wona uzokwaziswa kanjani ukuthi amapha ama benefits angaba khona for labo bantu abakhele leyo ndawo ekuzombiwa kuyona.
My first concern, Honorable Chairperson, will be that the youth in terms of skills, financial skills, accounting skills, they are not in par. So how is the portfolio committee going to ensure that our youth are equipped in terms of being able to understand what is required of them to be able to participate and make a meaningful contribution towards this proposed bill? And secondly, Chairperson, it will be that the communities themselves, those who are not versed with the information in terms of understanding as to what contribution they should be making, how is the portfolio committee is going to ensure that those people are given adequate information and be made to understand fully what is required from them?
Siya kwi-state-owned entity. As the bill proposed ukuthi indlu yoweliso-mthetho okanye uSouth Africa ibe neyayo eyonayo. Sizwa sinokuthuthumela noma sinokusaba amasoya lapho ngoba kumanje zikhona ezownwa i-state or SAA, Eskom, you can count all of them and they are not in good standard. So how can a government open a new entity while the ones who are currently enrolled are not performing accordingly and there is too much corruption found there? How is the government going to minimize that when opening that state-owned entity?
My other concern, Honorable Chairperson, is that the addition of the state entity, the addition of the new state entity, how is this going to contribute further? As we all know that there are issues going on there with entities that belong to the states. Now, if the state is becoming a custodian of this new entity, how is that going to help or assist our society? As we know, the level of corruption, the level of money mismanagement in the leadership, and also the fact that it's not a hidden fact that state entities has not been doing well in this country for quite a long time. So how is it going to assist in terms of adding this particular state entity on top of the issues that we've already mentioned?
We are also going to view the issue of climate change. The climate change has been one of the most issues akhona in the whole world. The clause or the bill ngiyithole ingakuveza ukuthi in terms of the climate change and all the contributing factors, how is the government going to manage itself? Lastly, the participants on the economy. We have 4 participants that we have in the economy, which is the household, which speaks as I as an individual, the business or the firm sectors, the government and the foreign sectors. We only had ukuluma about the business firms as participants of the economy and the government. Asikuzwange khuluma ukuthi esizok explore noma sik extract lokho esizok extract, how is it going to contribute in terms of I foreign economy yethu nokuthi thina bangaphandle lento mas izohanjiswa because singakuthola upetrol la, if we are going to mine it and explore it and still keep it with us, will make no economic growth. So, and also, all the participants of the economy, are they contributing accordingly or are they given equal chance? Because now it seems as
Ngiyabonga mhlali ngaphambili igama lami ngoDimba Nkosi. Ngiyayisupporta ibill njengoba iyona. Kodwa ke ngiyisupporta ngenjalo. Ngithanda ukuphoxeka kakhulu ngoba ngithe ngena lana benginama expectations aphezulu ngoba ngazi ukuthi uhulumeni wethu lona ukhethwa yithina and umele thina. Manje ngibona amakatolikwa engathi kukhona kufuneka bezwe kodwa khona ngafanele bezwe. Manje angazi ukuthi kahle kahle uhulumeni wethu kanti obani oba representa ngoba sibaningi la endlini manje kubhekelelwa abantu abawu5. I don't understand it. Ake silungisa ithina siphethe la South Africa abantu abamnyama baphethe la. And we must not be apologetic about that. Asikwazi kuloko sincetheza ngeke bafowethu ngeke. Nawe lamabhili esithi siyawaphasisa ngeke azaphasa phela maseloko sincetheza. We must pull the bull by its horns. Asingaloko sincenga. Ngeke.
Honorable Chairperson, I'll greet you with honorable respect.
Uyabona manje uyatolika manje utolikile abanye abantu ukuthi bezwe kodwa isikhathi ukukhuluma belungu bengafanele abantu bakithi bezwe, which is so unfortunate.
Sicela baba ukucacisela umphakathi nawo ukuthi esikwenzayo sikwenze ngoba sinikezwe umyalelo ubaba ozihlalo ngaphambili asikwenzi ngokuthanda kwethu.
Okay.
Yebo baba.
Sorry.
Okay, tolika.
Sorry, Chief. As a portfolio committee coming to the public, it is important for us to understand each other, to get the message clear, for us to go and deliberate. So the chairperson has already indicated that all languages are important and we value their importance. So we would not want to get into the debate about the languages. We are more interested in the matter that you would be proposing to us. And if that offends some of us, please bear with us so that we can just get your submissions so that when we go to other places, you are not disadvantaged by virtue of not having made your own submissions. That's my plea.
Okay.
Isicelo sethu sicela ukuzwa izethulo zakho. Singangeni leyo kuphikisana ngezilimi. Ushilo usihlalo wathi zonke ngana zonke ilimi zisemthethweni. So ngena kwinqikithi yokuthi ithini imbono yakho ngolimi lwakho oluthandayo siqhubeke siniphambili.
Okay, hayi ngiyabonga. Ngibhalanga lutho ephansi ngoba ngiyazazi izinto engizokhuluma
I
ngazo.
didn't write anything, but because I know exactly what I'm going to submit.
Sihlalo ngiyayizwa leli upstream. Kodwa ke mina okwami kakhulukazi ukuba benginayo isay bengafisa ukuthi the whole Petroleum Act ukuthi iParliament lethu like livakashele because
I hear this one of the upstream chair, but my submission is that the entire Petroleum Act that our government should revisit.
yes ngoba selokhu yagcina ukamendwa ngo2002
Because the last time it was amended, it was way back in 2002.
and ngendlela emingayo ayibamelele abantu abakithi abamnyama basafufusa.
The way it is structured, our upcoming and emerging people, especially people of color, are not covered in this industry of petroleum.
Njengamanje mawuthi uyabuka manibuka njena even in terms of percentage abantu bakithi kubukhuni kakhulu ukungena kuyona lemboni kapetrol asebengenile bathi sebenawo ama license kodwa ukususa unyawo lokuqala is very difficult kuvale laba bangale ngaphesheya bavale ngqi.
The access into this petroleum industry for black people is humongous, a huge challenge. Even those that gain entry a little bit, they encounter a whole lot of red tape. They only get the license and they can't move forward.
That's why I would like to propose that maybe uma ngabe isiphasile le upstream ake sivakashele ne downstream because abantu bakithi kakhulukazi laba bangenalutho njengathi baba laba bezobhenefitha kakhulu ila kwi downstream la kwi upstream kukhulunywa ngama billions manje thina sikabi nawo kushona nama thousands la kwi upstream imali ezinkulu ngempela edingeka khona kanti thina besadinga ucathula la kwi down uyayisupporta le upstream ukuthi ayibe khona le nkampani kahulumeni.
My submission, therefore, is that we support and second this upstream intervention for government and also the state-owned petroleum company. We also support that, but we're talking the level of billions when you're talking upstream. I want us to also pay attention to the downstream because some of us don't have those billions. We don't even have the upstream, downstream. That's where the largest opportunity that will be open to the masses like us would gain.
Noma ukhulume no BP noma ukhulume no Total noma ukhulume no Shell zonke lezi nkampani akusizona ezala eSouth Africa zonke.
If I make a classical example, for one to gain interest and access into this industry, you must talk to Total, talk to Engine, talk to people, talk to BP, talk to Shell. All those companies are foreign-owned or companies. They are not South African.
Mhlamba amalungu epetrol committee awakwazi lokho. Bonke labantu aba-own ama lento lena yama njengoba be-own ama-filling stations it's not like ukuthi bayawa-own lento ye-franchise labantu the real owners BP no Shell laba bantu bafana nama-managers they don't survive because imali abayitholayo enkulu bayikhokhela inkampani enkulu so exploitation ongayazi.
I'm not sure whether the portfolio committee is fully aware what's happening with the fuel retail industry. Our people who are owning service stations, those people are not benefiting from those franchises, but they're not even the owners, they are simply managers. The real owner, Totals and the engines of this world, and they take the lion's share.
I ngenze enye example. There's one baba, kunobaba olenga ngasesimangaliso kwigate yasesimangaliso. U-applyele i-license ye-retail.
One example, there is an old man by Ismangaliso Gate, I think in Kanyagote area. He has applied for a retail, fuel retail license.
Umuntu omphikisile ukuthi athole i-license, umuntu osehluhluwe. That's about 100 kilometers. Umlungu owna i-garage la Shell, uyena wa dispute.
And some white man owning a shelters from Smangaliso Gate has objected and that objection was sustained.
And lezi inkampani ezinkulu, for your information, zinabantu abameli abahlalela ukubheka ukuthi obani aba-applyela ama-licenses e-retail. Labameli bahlalela ukuthi ba-dispute each and every license e-applyelwayo, especially uma kuwumuntu omnyama.
These-
And before uthole i-license, kufanele uqale uthole ummeli. And uzomthathaphi ummeli because even kwayona imali lena uyitshelekile. So you must pay a lawyer first. These are the sufferings eyitholwa abantu abamnyama.
These fuel giants have got legal representation that are receiving all the, or that are checking on all the fuel license applications. And when they see that it's a black person applying, they reject and they defend that decision. So for you to really get a fuel retail license, you must borrow the money from the bank and find a lawyer. Where do you get the money to pay for lawyers? Even this capital is borrowed.
That's why ngithi mhlambe i-portfolio committee yami ayike ivakashele nayo le downstream ngoba abantu bakithi ngempela bayahlupheka. Fortunately mina lento ye-Petroleum Act ngisho ngangivusa ngo-12 ebusuku ngiyazi yonke ngize ngiphume ngale.
That's why I'm asking our portfolio committee to kindly revisit this, particularly on the downstream. Because I, for one, the Petroleum Act, I know it back and forth. You can wake me up at midnight, I will tell you straight away.
Ngiyabonga baba kuze kuthiwe sengidle isikhathi esiningi. Engigcine nje baba. Siyocela ngelinye ilanga nawo umthetho sivivinyo lona ukuze siwazi kahle ngene sibhalele nangolimi lakithi baba ngiyayicelela ngifuna ukuba popular nathi njena sike sibabone because sebebhalwe nje ungoba
I request that,
ngolimi lakithi baba.
I request that Chair, next time you come, the proposed bill should also be in our vernac. Shall we have that, please, next time you come?
Ngiyabonga baba ngiyawusupport umthetho.
Thank you so much. I support the bill.
Hi, my name is Chineira Reddy. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to raise my views. The following are points as to why I reject the bill. The bill is a replication of the Mineral and Petroleum Resource Development Act. The bill is political in nature and needs to be more aligned with the overwhelming evidence we have from climate scientists. Parliament has failed to provide enough time and resources to determine the implicated rights, for example, land rights and access to land. The bill is silent on access to information, which is crucial. The bill proposed multiple economic risks with no contingency plan. The bill does not consider important stakeholders such as subsistence fishers, small-scale fishers, and traditional healers. The bill gives exclusive power to the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy. The bill does not state where the petroleum products will be used or supplied to. Coastal and offshore operations are poorly regulated and will impact on coastal communities and oceanic ecosystems with spills, leaks, and dumping waste at sea. The bill does not have clear plan with dealing with pollution such as the oil spills. The bill will encourage both foreign investment and local participation in the oil and gas industry. The bill should mandate a process for closure of fossil fuel industries and a socially and environmentally just transition to renewable energy. Thank you.
You did not give us your name.
It's Janera Reddy.
Is that okay? Is that all right? Thanks. Let me translate. So wait. Good morning.
Order. Can we just give the speaker on the floor a chance to relate her submission?
Acela simnikeze ithuba osempubheni ukuthi naye azwakalise imbono yakhe.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity and for such a professionally run public participation process. My name is Helen Dodge. I'm resident here in the Ugu district, and I am not happy with this bill. I would reject this bill on two main grounds. The first is the environmental grounds, which have been mentioned by some of the other people submitting. In particular, what affects us directly here on the coast is the offshore exploration and mining. Are you translating? Okay. Okay, so at every step of the process in the offshore exploration, when we start with the seismic surveys, we have a huge impact on our marine life. And then when we have drilling, that's also a direct environmental impact. And of course, the possibility of spills and other polluting events is very real. The main way that this affects us is on a direct level for local communities, many of whom depend largely on subsistent fishing or fishing for small commercial purposes. We have small-scale fishers. We also have traditional and cultural and religious events that happen in the ocean, and all of this also feeds directly into tourism. The South Coast, in particular the Ugu district, has tourism as its prime economic driver. We're dependent on local and international tourists, and for example, in December of 2022, thanks to the fact that we had clean beach, 2.4 billion rand of revenue was reported by South Coast Tourism. So this is a substantial amount of income and job generation. Most of all of our holiday resorts, restaurants, B&Bs, hotels, lifesavers, sea rescue, all of these come from our local community and directly employ local people in our community. And of course, those are mostly black people. So there are direct benefits through tourism on our entire community. And I believe, also in agreement with a few of the previous speakers, is that many of our state-run entities are not demonstrating the best track record when it comes to management and mitigation. So we stand at the South Coast, we stand a risk of losing our entire tourism industry if we have only one oil spill. That's all it would take for that entire industry to collapse for quite a long time. So for that reason, I do not believe that what is proposed would be truly beneficial to our residents on any level, including economic. The money going to a few shareholders of multinational companies and foreign companies and the government entity. And I do not believe that that would trickle down to the people on the ground. At the beginning, we were told that we could submit proposals for solutions. What I would like to call for is a concerted effort, especially from our provincial government as well as our local government, to put out calls for desalination in our area. We have water problems, as you're well aware. There are a lot of water shortages and a continually growing population. And I have seen in documentation from top government level that desalination is strongly considered as a solution to water shortages. What a lot of people might not be aware of is that desalination can also produce hydrogen, which is a major and emerging source of fuel. Green hydrogen in particular is a way of looking after the climate while providing electricity and fuel and providing many, many jobs at a local level on the ground without jeopardizing tourism, without jeopardizing local cultural and economic and subsistence activities. Thank you very much.
The next speaker can approach the mic. May I just rectify for the purpose of us in the public meeting and to and fro movement with our interpreter. There was general consensus as we started in terms of the interpretation, English versus the indigenous languages.
Okay.
But it won't do any harm if, for purposes of progress, because I've been made aware of a number of members who are within the community public meeting for purposes of interpretation. So I would suggest or make it an order now that I've given the small powers for you to also interpret from English to isiZulu so that it won't make any harm if we interpret from across. Thanks very much.
Yes, sezostolika ke nesingisi sisisa ezulwini ubesho njalo isihlalo.
Thank you very much. No, thank you very much. Greetings. Angeke ngikhulume ngesiZulu. Sanibona. Ngibingelela abahleli ngaphambili.
Greetings to honorable members up front.
Engafisa nje ukuqala ngikusho, I would like to say long live to President Vladimir Putin. We stand with Russia and we support what he is doing in Ukraine.
Sithi makame njalo umengameli wase Russia, makame njalo uPutin sime naye kulokho akwenza eUkraine.
Thank you. Kusho ukuthi ke ngizwa kahle ukuhlongozwa kwalomthetho omelene nezimbiwa noma nooyela ekuthi mekuvela ukuthi uhulumeni uhlongoza ukuba nenkampani ezophatha uhulumeni ekuyinto enhleke leyo ngenxa ukuthi mengabe sikhumbula ngokumlando waseSouth Africa kubalekile ukuthi sibuyele emlandweni mesikhumbula kahle abantu abamnyama sebecindezeleke kakhulu kwathi mengabe uhulumeni wentando yeningi ungena awuzange uyirectify le nkinga yokucindezeleka kwabantu abamnyama. So
I hear propositions on the table. I also see that government is proposing a state-owned entity, and I would say that should be the right direction because as people were oppressed a great deal, and when we took over the democratic rule, we did not address most of the past mistakes.
kuze kube namhlanje onxiwa nkulu noma bamhlophe laba abathi ba rejecta ukuthi kube khona i-state owned entity ezodila with ama issues akwi-petroleum kube ukuthi kwakudala kade ba benefita through lama resources, mineral resources kuzo includewa ke njengamanje even the introduction of this petroleum ngizomunye babe khuluma ngamabhiliyoni ekuyiqiniso ukuthi kuze kube manje abantu abazoqhubeka ba benefit economically abantu abamhlophe. That's why ngizwa ukuthi ke even those who are suggesting ukuthi the number of 10% ukuthi kuzofakwa abantu abamnyama bazoparticipate in this thing ukuthi